session. A very good evening and a warm welcome to all the D120 Toastmasters who've gathered for the third open house of this Toastmasters year. I am Toastmaster Shweta Shankari from the D120 liaison team, and I'll be playing your MC today. Before jumping into the session, as the MC for today, it's my duty to give some context about today's session and open house in general. The main intent and the goal of Open House is to empower D120 Club and its members, discuss opinions, clarify doubts, and bridge gaps across various hierarchical levels, right from district, division, area, club, and so on. So, coming to today's session, the session is going to be held for 1 hour, that is from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. The questions that are going to be discussed today are those that were sent by the clubs till yesterday, that is till 12 a.m. today. The questions sent afterwards will be taken up in the next open house. At this point, I would also like to introduce the role players for today. Timer Toastmaster Prabhakaran from Rane Toastmasters Club and Zoom Master Toastmaster Divya from Tuticorin Toastmasters Club. Thank you, role players. Timer, please note that today we'll be timing every questions and the time allocated for discussing each question would be green at 40 seconds, amber at 60 seconds, and red at 75 seconds. That's it. Finally, thank you. Finally, I would like to extend my heartiest welcome to the pillars of today's session, the open house panel, who is none other than the District 120 trio, District Director Toastmaster Satish Menon, Program Quality Director Distinguished Toastmaster Aarti Mangalam Jairaj, and Club Growth Director Distinguished Toastmaster Gayatri. On behalf of all the clubs gathered here, I extend my heartiest welcome, and we are very, very excited to have you here. That's it. Without any further ado, let's jump straight into the questions, shall we? I will start off with the questions directed to our district director, Toastmaster Satish Menon, and then we'll kind of go on about this on a rotational basis. The first question to Toastmaster Satish Menon: will there be at least one informal meeting for the D120 leadership team in person now that a lot of places have opened up? Over to you, Toastmaster Satish.
Shweta, a very good evening to everyone who's present here today. To answer the question, yes, we will definitely be having more in-person meetings now that things are slowly opening up. And we are looking at getting more people together for most of these meetings. So just waiting for the pandemic to kind of subside, because even now we've seen a lot of cases happening in and around Chennai, though the intensity has come down. But we still want to kind of play on the side of caution. And definitely in the month of October and November, you will see a lot of in-person meetings happening, because that is the way which I believe that we have to go forward in Toastmasters, is to get back to more in-person meetings, be it a club meeting or be it a meeting with the leaders at different levels. So definitely there are plans and there will be more in-person meetings, is what my answer to that question would be.
Thank you, Toastmaster Satish Menon. I think that cleared up pretty well. And the second question is again to you, Toastmaster Satish. Can the bank account be operated completely online? Also, please explain how the name transfer of signing authority is done usually.
See, if you look at it, there is nothing special in terms of a bank account being operated online. It's all dependent on what are the access that the banks are going to give to the club if they sign up for a bank account. And we are not the right people to comment on whether they will give online or whether they will not give online access. That depends on the bank's procedures. With regard to the changeover of signatories every 6 months, which are set at the bank level. Like in Toastmasters, if you look at it, we still have to go and submit the documents in person to the bank because the signatories change every year. So I guess that is pretty much what it would be for a bank. If the bank accepts documents signed online and then it's okay with their internal process, we will not be able to comment on that. My answer to that would be best to check with the bank. They would be the right people to guide us on, guide the club on this matter.
Thank you, Toastmaster Satish. Yeah, to sum up, it's the bank's decision, and there is no decision from the Toastmasters regarding that. So, yeah. The third question is again to you, Toastmaster Satish. How do we encourage corporate clubs to participate in contests in spite of stress and pressure at work? Over to you.
Well, you have to look at contests not in isolation. The contest is also part of your Toastmasters journey. And what you do in a club meetings, contest is just an extension of that. So giving a speech in a club, when you go and give a speech in a contest, it is still a speech that you're giving, right? But you would have prepared a little more for it because you're going to go and contest in a contest with a club or an area or a division. And if you look at from a time perspective, as long as you have prepared the speech and you have practiced the speech, going and giving the speech, all contests don't run for more than 1 hour, especially club contest, and area contest maybe will run for a little more, but I don't think it goes more than that. And all these things don't happen every week. So when you're talking about a contest, we've got 4 contests in a season, Toastmasters year, of which 2 happen every 6 months. So from a time perspective, I don't think there is anything great that you need to sacrifice to be there. And it is part of the Toastmasters journey. So those who want to kind of become a better speaker, those who are looking at aspiring to get onto a stage and speak, not as a professional speaker, but also corporate events or do corporate presentations, this is the right forum for them to come from a time perspective. And if this is something that is very important for you, I still believe that all of us can manage to get time to go and compete.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And the next question would be priorities versus responsibilities. What is your take on this in the Toastmasters fraternity? So how would you go about sorting out priorities and responsibilities for the club businesses? Over to you.
Priorities versus responsibilities. See, when you sign up for anything, be it a voluntary position or a paid position, you are signing up fully knowing that this is what that position will entail in terms of time commitment, in terms of responsibility, in terms of leadership. And when you are signing up for something, we are signing up with the clear understanding that each one of us will be able to devote time for that activity. Now, where does it fall in the list of your priorities? That each individual can decide. If you decided to sign up for a role, then I should allocate time for that role and do my bit of justice in ensuring that I fulfill my responsibilities for role in the right manner. Voluntary or non-voluntary is secondary. So there is nothing which kind of says that, oh, I took it up because somebody didn't take it up. There was no compulsion on anybody to take up anything, right? So if you've taken it up, you better deliver it based on the way it's been envisaged. A lot of people will come and say, I didn't find time to do it. I would say for that kind of thing, don't wait till the end of your term. If you find that you are not getting time to devote to a role in Toastmasters, it would be prudent to kind of put your hand up upfront and say, I'm not able to find time. Please look at somebody else who can do this. Okay, there is nothing wrong in this. Okay, but it would be extremely difficult for an area, division, district, or a club that you don't take that decision, and at the end of 6 months, you find that nothing has happened. Okay, and then as an individual, you are disillusioned. As a club, the entire club is disillusioned, and that the same thing repeats for if you take positions at area, division, district, and beyond. So the choice is up to the individual. If you sign up for something, clearly understand that I need to devote an X percentage of time for this activity. And how can I do it in an effective manner? If you find you're constrained for time, it is prudent to step down immediately and let somebody else do that role. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for addressing that, Toastmaster Satish. So the next set of questions are to be directed to our program quality director, distinguished Toastmaster Aarti. The first question to you, Aarti, is can the club contest be done in person for the first term? Over to you.
Ideally, the club contest will be the decision of the club and the EXCOM members. So as a club, if you want to have a in-person contest or an online contest or even a hybrid contest, the decision lies completely with the clubs. However, we have only one request. We would request you not to go for a hybrid mode. Okay, and completely online, then the playing field is level, and completely in person, even that is fine. But a hybrid mode can be a disadvantage to a few people and an advantage to a few people. Decision lies with you. Suggestion, do not go for a hybrid mode. That would be my answer.
Thank you, Aarti. The next question is how many from the club contest move on to the area contest? I think that's pretty simple, but yeah, this is one question that we've got. How many from the club contest move on to the area contest?
It would be two people. The person who's placed first and second will move on to the next level. However, let's assume that the person who's placed who's placed first is not able to make it for any reason. Then the person who's placed next. If 1 and 2 can't attend, then 3 and 4. So it's two people going in the particular order in which they have been ranked in the contest. From area to division also 2. From division to district, it is one person.
Thank you, Aarti. I hope that pretty much clarifies it. The next question is Golden Gavel. Is there any initiative planned for viewing the submission scores by club, AD, or DD dynamically?
Dynamically, at this point of time, I will not be able to assure or guarantee. We are working towards it. So dynamically, probably I'll give you a response to this question in the next open house. But for now, you will get periodical updates. At the beginning of every month and at the mid of every month, we'll give you an update. So every 2 weeks, you can expect an update on your scores. Starting October, because only in September have we started submissions. So do not expect any update in September. Starting October, you will have these updates. If you're able to go dynamic in the meantime, you will have a poster announcing it, and definitely I will share it in the next open house.
Thank you, Aarti. And the next question is again about one question about the contest. Why can't the audience turn on their videos during the humorous speech contest? Yeah, it's a pretty relevant question.
See, there are many reasons. Okay, number one, what happens is if you look at a contest environment, while you're able to see your audience laugh or react to your speeches, the audience will not be allowed to get up and move around. It is a controlled environment. But when it's an online contest, we are not in a position to ensure a controlled environment. You never know when what disturbance can happen. Even it can happen in person. Like in my own division contest, I had a dog run on stage. It is unavoidable, but the chances of it happening is extremely rare. Maybe 1 in 10,000 speeches, it can happen. However, in an online, the chances are all the more. Also, it can affect the bandwidth. You might be having a red background, right? That can distract the speaker. Keeping all this in consideration and making sure the speaker is not distracted in any way, we have made it as a recommendation that the video will be switched off. The audience's video and audio and also the chat. I see a chat pop up, I will get distracted. Or I finish my speech and someone does not appreciate my speech. When I'm seeing a lot of appreciations for the other speeches, it can still be a distraction. That is why all these have been disabled in an online contest.
Thank you for that clarification, distinguished Toastmaster Aarti. We'll now move on to the next set of questions, and these questions are directed to the Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Gayatri. The first question to you would be, please share your ideas to attract the guest in their very first meeting itself, online meeting.
So, to me, the only way to attract guests or to impress guests is ensuring that everybody who performs their role is sincere to their best. When a guest enters a Toastmaster meeting, for them to get a hold of what is happening in the club, I think the most important thing that can impress them is that everybody is given a chance. It is not that somebody who has a very good language command, or somebody who is a flamboyant speaker, or somebody who can entice the audience on the stage impresses a guest. On the contrary, somebody who is struggling to speak, who comes and speaks in front of the audience, inspires a guest to become a member in a far better way. So to me, if everybody in the club is sincere to their best, the guests will understand that there is a place for everybody in the club and they can groom themselves by being part of the club. So if we have good quality meetings, by good quality, again, I'm repeating, it's not about the quality of the speaker. It is about the quality of the efforts that we put in giving our best, that I believe will attract guests and help us convert more guests into members.
Thank you, Gayatri, for addressing that. The next question would be, for receiving this Smedley Award, why are clubs expected to pay an extra of $6 over the one-time fee of $25?
Well, technically, see, Smedley Award is given to clubs which had 5 new dual or reinstated members in the month of August or September. So they would be actually paying for 1 or 2 months extra, depending on whether they join in August or September. So it's not that exclusively for Smedley Award we pay extra. It is not that way. And I think there is a little difference in the amount that was mentioned there. It is not $25, it is $20 that is a one-time fee. And second thing, we pay $7.50 per month. So if they are joining, say, in August, they have to actually pay $15 extra. But that's not for Smedley Award. That's because the member is joining Toastmasters from August. Similarly, if they join from September, they will pay $7.50 extra. And the clubs actually do not collect extra exclusively for the award. It's just that the clubs are encouraged to add new members in August and September so that the club balance is maintained. I think there's one more question on Smedley Award. So let me cover a little more there. But the idea here is we are not paying for the award. We are rather paying for an extra month of membership fee for the member.
Thank you, Gayatri. The next question is how to encourage members, especially seniors, to renew when they are under constant pressure due to academics and placements. I think this question is from a college club, obviously. So, yeah.
So when I feel that Toastmasters membership plays a vital role, especially when you're working for your placement, especially in your final year than in any other year. Personally, I have worked with many college students who have talked about Toastmasters and got their way into the company. So the idea here is the Toastmasters membership will help you stand apart from all the other people who are applying for placement, because you have a proof that you have been a leader. You have went to people, convinced them to become members, or you have publicized Toastmasters in a larger forum, or you have regularly worked with people and made them accomplish their goals. All these are leadership skills which are very vital for somebody to get hired. And I believe being a Toastmaster member, and especially holding an ExCom position or doing some sort of a leadership role, will be a very, very big advantage for somebody. Even if the HR or the person who is interviewing doesn't know about Toastmasters, the person who is appearing for the interview can very well put all these two things into a normal leadership lingo and project the work that they have done to have an edge over all the other people there. So I believe it's very, very essential, especially in the final year, when especially they are going for placements.
Thank you for that, distinguished Toastmaster Gayatri. I think this is a good insight. Instead of seeing Toastmasters as something that can distract you from academics, it's all the more going to feed into placements during your college time. So thank you for that. The next set of questions is again going to be directed to Toastmaster Satish Menon. So this question, due to the COVID situation, a few parents are reluctant to give a huge amount of money to the Toastmasters to pursue Toastmasters, how can we convince our parents? The members are interested to join, but the concern here is how to convince parents.
A very simple thing is Toastmasters is all about communication. And for the students, they should know that once they step outside their academic life and start working, it is only the communication, the way in which you express yourself, the way in which you work with a group of people, your ability to take calculated risk, your ability to express your thoughts in a better manner, and your ability to work with people whom you don't know is something that will take you ahead. Just to give an example, for students who graduate out of college and go apply for a job in a reputed firm, you will have people from a lot of other colleges coming there. So you are a topper, you got 100 other people who are also toppers. Obviously, if they give the same written test to you, all of you will pass. What happens when you go to the next round, which is the group discussion? There you have to stand up and speak. And what happens when you go to the next 3 or 4 rounds of interview? There, if you don't know how to articulate yourself, you're not going to get the job because you are a topper, because they've got others also who are toppers and some are better than you. Assuming you clear all of that and you start working, you will not get the choice of a project, or you are not going to get a choice of where you are going to get placed. You will be working with teams of people whom you have not met in your life before. You will be working with customers who are not going to kind of give you the leeway to do things on your own pace. So that is where all your techniques of speaking up, talking effectively, writing effectively, working with a diverse set of individuals, adhering to deadlines, grabbing opportunities when they come rather than waiting for somebody to give it to you, all that will come into the fore. And that is what Toastmasters teaches you through live examples. So that is what I would tell all parents, to say that this is not something which is a nice to have. This is something which is essential in today's very, very intensely competitive world, which the student community will face once they step out of college.
Thank you for that explanation. And yes, Toastmasters is something that we all come into to develop our communication skills. So it's a wonderful platform, and it's also a wonderful tip to convince parents on, those who are looking for it. The next question for you is, in the recent times, there has been an increased focus on documentation in Toastmasters, like the recent CSP. Why is such a change happening?
There has not been any increase in documentation. Documentation was always there. So if you say, look at things like Club Success Plan was not something which was invented this year. It's always been there. Club Success Plan, Area Success Plan, Division Success Plan, District Success Plan. So these kind of documentations have existed for a long time. And the reason they are there is, if you are to start something, if you say in the beginning of the year, we are beginning on a new slate every year, because as all of you know, come June 30th, the counters reset to 0 and it again starts from 0 at the beginning of July 1st. Unless you don't have a plan on how you're going to run a club, unless you don't have a plan on how you're going to run an area or a division or a district, how are you going to kind of take it ahead for the remainder of the year? We are not in an agile environment where we will say that, oh, I will wake up in the morning and depending on the situation, I will change what I have to do. Okay, that doesn't happen that way. And the presence of a plan, the preparation of a plan is a guiding light for everybody, right from the club, area, division, district, to ensure that this is the path that we need to take to make our clubs successful, area successful, division successful, and district successful. So it's not something which is paperwork. It is the bare essential which you need. And these things have been there even in the past. So it's not something which maybe the format would have changed a little bit here and there, but the documentation still is something which has been kind of coming over for so many years.
Thank you for that answer. The next question, this is something related to awards, I guess. I have completed my pathway in March 2021. Will I receive a pathway completion certificate and a ribbon? And what incentives are we giving for members who step up to take roles in contests?
Giving a pathways certification ribbon is something which is a district initiative, which we have started from this year. When I say this year, it is July 2021 onwards. Okay. So if somebody has completed it last year, this initiative was not there last year. So obviously you're not going to get for something which has happened in the last year. And this is a district initiative. What Toastmasters does is, once you complete a path, once you complete a level, you get a certificate, which is signed by the Toastmasters International President and the Chief Executive Officer. So that's from Toastmasters side. Ribbon is something which we said that we will do it from a district side as a initiative this year. So that's why we are sending it out every month to people who have completed a level or completed a path. Hopefully that will continue in the years to come, or it could even get better at how we are recognizing, but it is not something which we can give retrospectively. Okay. That is the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, how are we recognizing role players? There are different ways in which role players are recognized for roles that they take up at area and above, typically by sending a ribbon, which is called as an enthusiasm ribbon. And there are different ways which the district will recognize, and those who take up role plays will know when they get that recognition. But I would always recommend to people that don't take up roles because we will get a recognition. Toastmasters is a movement where we come to learn. So take up roles because you are getting an opportunity to learn. You are getting an opportunity to serve. That is what should be more important. If some recognition comes, consider that as a bonus, but don't sign up for roles expecting that I will get a recognition, so I should take up the role. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Toastmaster Satish Menon. So that was a good insight. Always take up roles for the benefit it gives, and the effect of it is what you get a recognition and an award or something. So thank you for that. The next set of questions is to distinguished Toastmaster Aarti. The first question to you would be evaluation contest. During evaluation contest, the first contestant has a disadvantage over other contestants as he or she has very limited time for preparation when compared to others. How is fairness maintained here? This is the question.
See, there are two answers to this question. Number one, all contestants get 5 minutes to prepare once the speech is over. At the end of 5 minutes, of course, all the notes on which they take all the paper on which they take the notes is collected from them. So they don't have the notes for them to refer, plan. Of course, the other contestants have time to think about how they're going to deliver. They can plan things in their mind. And, well, there's nothing that can be done towards it. But remember, where we bring in an element of equal opportunity is in the lots itself. No one knows that I'm going to be the first speaker, or I'm going to be the last speaker. You do not have a say in it. So that is where everyone has to be prepared for the first speaker. I still remember one particular same question was asked in a contest, and the person who asked this question became the first speaker themselves. There is absolutely nothing much you can do about it. Well, the advantage of being the first speaker is you can listen to all the other speakers and enjoy. So there is a trade-off, and this is the way the world functions, not just Toastmasters. So we need to go along with it.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. The next question is, for contests, should the test speaker be invited for this by the CJ or the contest chair? Additionally, can the test speaker not be from CJ's club or area?
Okay, number one, yes, we have strongly recommended in the addendum that the test speaker will be referred by the CJ. That's what has been recommended. Earlier, yes, the contest chair can also go ahead and finalize the test speaker. The second question, can the test speaker not be from the CJ's club or area? Is that the question?
Yes, Aarti.
The test speaker can be from the CJ's club and area. There is no such rule that, let's say, for example, an area contest. I'm going to take A1 area contest, and the CJ is from, shouldn't be from A1, but if at all the CJ is from A1, which is not the case, you're not allowed to have it from the same area. So there is no way you'll have a conflict of interest. I'm just trying to see why this person asked this particular question. The CJ can choose a test speaker from their same area. There is absolutely no conflict of interest over there.
Okay, thank you for that. I think the intent behind this question was to have the unbiased, because if the test speaker is from CJ's club or area, uh, to keep things very objectively. I think the intent of the question was that.
Yes.
The next question to you would be, again, this is another type of question that Toastmaster Satish also addressed. Online contests have become an additional workload to many. How do we encourage our members to contest and attend the practices? If you have your opinion on it.
Okay, let me tell you one thing. Me as a contestant, right? I know all of us want to win, and that's when we put the pressure completely onto ourselves. Wanting to win is not wrong, but at the end of the contest, look at what you have learned. And every level, whether you progress or you don't progress, the learning has always been huge. Look at the learning. That is what Toastmaster Satish has also said. That's what I would also say. We are not here to win. All of us have joined Toastmasters to learn. So let's focus on the learning. In that journey, we win, great. Then the learning becomes different. After you win, how do you cascade that knowledge becomes your own learning? So every step in Toastmasters, always look at what can I learn? What am I learning? The minute you focus on that, and also be it the club mentor, the contest chair, the vice president education, don't tell them, oh, you know what, I want you to contest because we have only 3 contestants. Make them understand why they should contest and what value will they get by contesting. Make them feel special. And I know contests where like there are 3 people. Okay, you walk into the contest. Okay, today you're contesting. Go give that CC7 speech. Let's not have that culture. Plan. If you have only 3 contestants and still want to do a contest, it's perfectly fine. Don't put the other person in spotlight and say, hey, we have only 3, so go contest. That is when the pressure will be there. Let people enjoy the journey and let them understand what they learn from it.
Thank you for that answer. The next question would be, do we intend to have a consolidated pool of available chief judges, educational speakers, and mentors across D20? Do we intend to have such a consolidated list somewhere so it's easy to refer and pull?
Yes, as of now, the consolidated list of judges and CJs have been shared with the division directors, and through them, it would have been shared to the area directors and percolated further down. That's the whole idea. When it comes to education speakers, yes, we are in the process of creating something like an education speakers bureau, where we'll have the names of the people who are interested in giving education speeches, their contact details, as well as their areas in which they'll be able to give sessions. Assuming that you're a person who's interested in giving an education session, but still you feel that there's a little bit of gap, you're not yet there to start giving sessions, but you're interested. For those people also, we are planning to have a boot camp. And for the other education speakers who've been identified, a shorter version of a boot camp, so that people who are already education speakers, there is a standardized format for D120 education sessions. For those who are aspiring to become educational speakers, we'll do a proper training kind of a boot camp and we'll keep you ready. This is an initiative which we'll be starting probably the next week onwards, and we will have that list shared. Regarding a pool of, or rather the directory of mentors, I will have to get back on that. Let me check and get back if there is going to be a way by which we can circulate the people who are interested in becoming mentors. I will get back on that point, Shweta.
Thank you, Aarti. So yeah, thank you for explaining that. The next set of questions is directed to the Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Gayatri. How do we choose the right mentor and mentee in buddy clubs?
I don't think in any place we can have a formula to choose the right mentor or mentee, be it buddy club or be it Toastmasters or be it real life also. But there are few things that a member can look forward when they choose their mentor or their mentee. So the idea behind this buddy club is for members to go beyond their club and see how they can learn further. So the members are encouraged to attend the meetings of each other clubs, and then say there could be a mentee who could look at somebody and say, okay, this person is so good at this. Let me learn this from this person and choose that person as mentor. Or it could be other way also. A mentor can see that this person has a very good potential. Let me spend some time and groom that person. You could be either of them actually. If you see, we have not restricted that a particular club should be the giving all the mentors or all mentees. So you have all the freedom. So basically the buddy clubs are encouraged to ask their members to attend each other's club and see if there is a potential mentor or a mentee whom they can choose, so that they can learn in both ways. Being a mentor also is a lot of learning journey. So this is typically what I could recommend as a way, but there is definitely no right way to choose a mentor or a mentee.
True that. That's very true. And thank you for that explanation. The next question is, how does reinstatement work? Can someone come back at any time, or is there a limited number of times after which they can't get back?
The beauty of Toastmaster membership is once you pay the $20, be it at 18 years or at 50 years, whenever you pay, it is valid for your lifetime. You don't have to pay the $20 again, which means you can reinstate your membership at any point of time. You could have a month's gap or a year's gap or a lot of years gap also. You just have to remember either your membership ID or your email address, without which tracking that will be little difficult. So what is reinstatement mean is, if a member does not renew within a month, say for example, until September, our membership is valid. So if they do not renew at least by October, okay, ideally before September, we renew. But if a member wants to renew, they can at least renew by October, because October 1st is when their membership expires. So at least by October, if they renew, they can continue their renewal. If they do not renew until October, which is they have at least 1 month gap in their membership, anytime they are added, they will be treated as a reinstatement member. It could be within the same club, it could be on a different club as well. So if you are adding a member who was an old member but was not active for any period beyond 1 month, then they will be qualifying as a reinstated member. And same applies for April. In case of March renewal, if they have not renewed until end of April, they'll become a reinstated member whenever they continue their journey. And there is no time limit. As long as you are alive, you can use the same membership ID and reinstate your membership. There is no time period there.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The next question is, again, a common question. What can be done to retain members if they particularly feel uninterested in the online scenario? Are there any tips to keep them interested in Toastmasters, online Toastmasters?
See, after the pandemic, this online offline question has been a big thing, and many people have been saying that when things resume offline, I'll continue my journey in Toastmasters, which is something that I would say they are quite ignorant when they say this. See, whoever is wanting to renew their membership or continue their journey in Toastmasters after things resume to offline mode, they are continuing to work in online mode, whatever profession they are, be it a teacher, be it a software engineer. I think almost 90% of the professionals were forced to work online during the pandemic. So whatever be your profession, you need a means to enhance your communication online. And we all know it's even more difficult to connect with people in an online mode. So that is where I feel Toastmasters is even more important. Offline, probably if you did not aspire to become a public speaker, you could still overcome your stage fright. There may be people who were good with one-on-one communication, but they were not very good with stage communication, for which they came to Toastmasters. But when things are online, you don't even have an opportunity to connect with your colleague. You cannot walk to their cubicle and sort out the problems. There are going to be higher number of conflicts, higher number of misunderstandings, and everything is going to be more challenging in an online mode. And a forum like Toastmasters will help us practice that. So you are still going to work as an XCOM officer in an online mode, and you're more comfortable speaking without looking at people's face. So all these techniques are even more important in an online mode. So for somebody who is reconsidering their membership because it's online, I would probably speak to them and ask them to consider these points and how it will help them in their professional life, being it as an online medium.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Gayatri. The next question is, you have already addressed it. What is the overall purpose behind the Buddy Club initiative? You did address it in the previous question, but if you have any other additional points to add here.
I think I'll probably share why we came up with something called as buddy club. Because see, buddy club is not a new terminology, but the way it is implemented in our district is very unique and the first time I would say. Buddy club has been traditionally used for a strong club to help a club that needs support, basically a club that has been inactive or suspended. A strong club goes and adopts this club and then they revive the club and then they both get recognized for this. But in our district, we are not doing it in that way. The reason behind we brought buddy club is because if you see people who are active in Toastmasters for beyond 2-3 years, they all will have at least one friend beyond their club. In fact, most of us are in Toastmasters because we believe in this program, but beyond that, we have friends for life. We have people whom we think like anything, people whom we want to learn from, people whom we aspire to become. We have met our role models. And all this will happen not within our club, it will happen beyond our club. And the sad part here is in every club, there are about 10 to 20% of people who are definitely having these kind of connections. But the majority part, about 60 to 80% in every club, do not have any connections beyond their club. And I believe the true value of Toastmasters comes in when we have connections. That is why this year from the trio, we wanted to bring in something very new. And we are so happy that almost 40 clubs have already adopted it, and quite more are actually have I mean, are on the way to find their buddy club. So this will help us connect with clubs beyond our club, and that will enhance our learning journey. That was the main reason why we wanted to have something called as buddy club. So I think that will help more people understand why we are bringing in such a new initiative and insisting or recommending that more clubs adopt this. This was the thought process.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that, Toastmaster Gayatri. I am glad that this question came up, and I would.
Yeah, Shweta, sorry. Aarti here. I thought I'll add something to what Gayatri has been talking
Yeah,
about
sure.
buddy clubs.
Yeah.
There are many clubs who have actually gone and found a buddy club. We request you to go ahead and register it in the Hall of Fame Awards. The only way we'll be able to track and see which club is still available is if you go ahead and register. And that registration is also needed for us for Golden Gavel points. So if you've identified a buddy club, please go ahead and let us know through the awards document so that we'll be able to take it further. I just wanted to quickly use this opportunity to make this request. Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Gayatri. And back to you, Shweta.
Thank you, Toastmaster Gayatri and Aarti. Glad that this question came up. I'm sure this would have clarified a lot of Toastmasters who've been wondering about this buddy club since it's a new initiative. So going to the next set of questions, these set of questions is directed to Toastmaster Satish Menon. Regarding the annual general meeting, how many days notice period has to be given to club members, and how should be the AGM conducted for biannual clubs?
The rules say that you need to give 4 weeks of notice for any AGM to be called, irrespective of whether it is club, area, division, or district. It doesn't matter. Even if outside of Toastmasters also, they say minimum 4 weeks notice needs to be given to the members. Coming back to the question of bilingual clubs, also you will have 2 AGMs in a year. So again, it stands for 2 meetings, 4 weeks notice is the bare minimum. You can give more than that also, but bare minimum is 4 weeks notice to be given for an AGM to all the members.
Thank you for that. The next question is how to set speed schedule for senior members, club members, leaving the club before next renewal so that they can finish their pathways, how to expedite their learning.
Well, if somebody is wanting to leave, they should be expediting their learning process and not the club. And I would think that where we can't stop people from leaving, but I would say that if somebody is in that kind of an urgency to finish something and go, that individual should be more proactive to say how they can give more speeches within a less amount of time. And for that, I don't think that they need to only depend on their club. They can go to other clubs also and give their speeches. That is something which Toastmasters allows. And other clubs will also welcome if they get an external guest speaker or an external speaker, external member coming and giving a speech. So there are many ways for you to expedite your Toastmasters journey, educational journey. But the underlining point on this is you should not hasten the process just because you want to leave. Like Gayatri mentioned, the membership is valid across. Okay, so even if you are, say, typical example, if I'm a college student and I'm part of a college club, and this is my last year, and if I'm finishing off my college education, my Toastmasters membership, I could still extend to a community club wherever I am. Okay, so I may not be part of, say, city X, city A, but if I'm going to city B, which is my hometown, look for a Toastmasters club which is there and just take a membership there and continue on your journey. Why do you want to break your journey because you are finishing off college or you are leaving one organization and joining another organization? Okay. So continue your journey, reap the benefits of Toastmasters. Don't tie it to events like leaving college or leaving a job.
Thank you very much for that. The next question, again, we've like time and again we've discussed this question. How can we encourage members to participate more in contests? I would also add to this question, like if you have any additional tip or advice or any other opinion on contest, please do share, because a lot of questions are around contests. So yeah, if you have anything.
See, when you look at contest, it is not only the speaker, okay, or the contestant. So contestants is one part to it. There are other roles also which the contest would need, like a contest master, a contest chair, timers, kind of tally counters. And then you have a lot of other supporting roles which come in. And each of those gives you an opportunity to learn something new. As a speaker, obviously, you are getting a chance to compete. And if you win, the excitement and the satisfaction that it gives you is a totally different one. Okay? But as role players also, if you are a contest master, it's a pure coordination role, getting everybody together to make that contest happen in a proper manner. If you're a contest chair, okay, it's again a coordination job to ensure that you have all speakers lined up properly, everybody's introduction is with you, you know if people are qualified, not qualified to attend. Simple thing like a timer. Okay. It gives you the ability or the option to listen to so many speeches, look at so many people who are speaking. It builds your ability to listen because you are the one who are turning on and off the timing switch like it's happening now. So effectively, if you turn it off before or you turn it off after, depend on what happens, the contestants either gain or they lose. So your concentration has to be that high. So it teaches you that concentration skills. Okay? As an R counter, not as a tally counter, it allows you to interact more with judges, understand the process on which judging happens, the way they give the marks, everything, right? So that is something which is learning everywhere. And some of these learnings you take back to your corporate life and professional life. So that is how you need to kind of look into it. To give an example, I know I'm shooting time on this, but just because we are talking about contest, a personal example I gave, I was the conference chair for two of the biggest conferences that happened in district. And when I look at that, the learnings that I got from it is akin to as good as running a big project, okay, or kind of managing an organization for almost 6 to 8 months, because that is the time it took, and working with people whom I don't know. Okay? So I get a lot of people whom I don't know, working with all of them, working with the understanding that none of them is bound to listen to you. Okay? So you can't tell people because I'm conference chair, you have to listen to me. Okay? So working together with people, making all that things happen, and the satisfaction of seeing everything happening on the day of the conference and beyond, that is something which is a great learning for anyone. So that is why I encourage everybody to take up roles in the contest. If not as a speaker, then there are a lot of other roles which one can play. The learnings will be much more immense. Let me tell you, if you want to go and do this as part of people who are doing their management, if somebody tells you go and do a project on project management or working with people, you will not be able to get a better project than this. To be part of a contest team or to lead a contest team and deliver things, which is why I encourage a lot of people that this is an MBA project for you. Take it and see how you can deliver it efficiently.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. That's a really great insight, I guess. Contests and working with contests comes with a plethora of skills and learnings to take. So different roles have different learning. So yeah, we encourage all the members to take up roles in contests for the sake of learning. The next set of questions is again directed to Toastmaster Aarti. What is the best sequence of pathways to follow?
Okay, when you're talking about sequence, if you're talking about which path, you take the assessment. The assessment will direct you in terms of what is the best path for you. And if you're not going to go with the assessment, then I would probably recommend, let's say you finish the first path and then you're looking at what next. Then I would recommend go with your mentor suggestion. These are the two best ways by which you could choose which path after this, rather than a particular sequence, because pathways is quite vast, and depending on your area of interest, you could always pick up what you want that is recommended.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The next question is again about one question about the contest. Can a member serve as contest chair in one contest and compete in another? I think here they are mentioning contest chair in humorous contest and contesting in evaluation, something like that.
Okay, so number one, you cannot be the contest chair of the contest where you're contesting. For example, let's say you belong to area A1 and you're a contestant in evaluation, you cannot be a contest chair for area A1 contest. And even if I look at it otherwise, above club contest, you cannot be a contestant and you cannot be a contest chair, even in any other area or division contest. You're there in the area contest, you've lost, because of which you're going to be a chair in the division contest, then it's perfectly fine. But you won the area, so you're going as a contestant in division contest, and you're a contest chair in division contest, it is not allowed. For the very simple reason, a contest chair, a contest master, CJs, all these people get a lot of attention and stage space, which can unconsciously create some bias in the mind of the audience as well as the judges. That is why above above club level, we strongly recommend that you do not take up any chair if you're a contestant. At club level, yes, outside of your club where you're contesting, you can still take up a role. You can refer the rule book. I think it's 0.7, 7A, 7B. That's where these details are given as to what role you can take up in a contest. In fact, if you take up a contest chair role, you will become ineligible to contest. Check out the rule book. It's there in detail. Bottom line, please do not take up any other role if you're a contestant. Over to you, Shweta.
Thank you, Aarti. The next question is an interesting question. For the humorous speech contest, how much drama should be added so that it doesn't cross the line between a speech and an act?
I think the person who asked this question has answered it themselves. You know where the line is. The only problem is line differs for each of us. For someone like me whose body language is an area of concern, if you expect me to do theatrics, it will never work for me. It will look completely odd. What you see me speaking is who I am naturally. So in that case, my line will be quite closer home. But for someone who's comfortable with theatrics, then it's perfectly fine. But as a judge, there is a clear instruction as to what constitutes body language. If you think you do a somersault on stage, which will give you some more extra brownie points, if it adds humor to the content, then yes. But because you're capable of doing a somersault, whereas I'm not, you will not have an edge over me. I would strongly recommend theatrics might not work. A lot of people do use theatrics and overuse also props, but that is not what you're being judged upon as a contestant.
And I will also add one point there is it will be good if people go and look up the judges ballot, because that has got marks for each and every category, and then you can then yourself judge that what is the percentage of marks that will be given for each category. So there is, and what are the parameters on which the judges need to judge an individual, especially in a humorous contest. We will say body language is only one part of it, but it does not override everything. Okay, so it's equal distribution everywhere. And plus Toastmasters is something where we need to make people laugh with our words or with our speech, not with our actions that we do on stage. That would typically get classified as slapstick comedy. That's a different genre altogether.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that explanation. The next question, how can the president distinguished clubs help suspended clubs in conducting weekly meetings and achieve the distinguished club status?
Help suspended clubs. Okay. Number one, if a club is suspended, it means they don't even meet the minimum number of membership requirements. But assuming that, yes, they want to revive and they are interested in reviving the club, need not be a president distinguished club. A club which has enough number of members and who's interested in supporting that particular club could go ahead and take up roles, probably do a couple of demo meetings so that the new people who are interested in joining the club can understand. It would be very synonymous to chartering a new club. You will have to help them, guide them in reviving the club, talk to them about what is the process. Maybe the member there does not even know what a table topics is. So conduct table topics on their behalf. Show them how a grammarian role has to be performed. Make sure they understand how interestingly a role can be performed and what you can learn from each and every role. Let them go through a kind of a officers training program by you conducting it for the officers there who are interested. So these support can be given by any club who has the inclination and the time and member strength to go ahead and do it. It need not be a president distinguished club.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much for addressing the questions, distinguished Toastmaster Aarti Mangalam Jayaraj. We now have the final set of questions to DTM Gayatri. Can you share your thoughts about membership building initiatives? Are there any new initiatives that clubs can work on to improve their membership?
We encourage clubs to run a campaign for adding members, and it is not a one solution that can fit all. In fact, we had a couple of trainings where we kind of gave a lot of ideas on how all you can bring in new guests and what all kind of campaigns you can run. I would probably take a minute extra and quote the 3 initiatives that were already done by our own district clubs. And you can actually reach out to the Club Grow team or to the club themselves, and it would help you understand how these work. One club, it was a corporate club, they ran a speech contest for non-Toastmasters. And the criteria was that the members who were interested to be part of the speech contest should attend a Toastmaster meeting and see how these things work. And they were also given an option to get mentored if they would like to choose somebody from the club. And let me tell you, the response was overwhelming. There were about 20-25 people who nominated for the contest. The contest was, created in a very similar way to our prepared speech and table topic contest. And we had a few Toastmasters who volunteered to even judge the contestants. And there was a good energy created among the club members, and there was a good awareness created among the corporate in terms of Toastmaster Club. And few of the members who were participating in the contest also eventually joined the Toastmasters Club. So this is one strategy that I've seen working very well. We have done a couple of times in our club as well, and I see that it worked for another corporate club as well. There was a community club which ran an open house with all the guests who were interested to be part of Toastmasters, to know Toastmasters. What they did was they trained them to play the roles for that particular open house meeting, and then the Toastmasters program was introduced to them to make them understand how it can help them transform their life. And I like the strategy wherein they brought in about 10 to 12 of them as a role player. So definitely their attendance was there, and it was not a no-show. Especially in an online meeting, it is very difficult to ensure that you get sufficient attendance for an open house session. And there was another club where they came up with a different way. So there was a August 15th teamed meeting. And to ensure that they got all the Chennai employees to be part of the club meeting, they ran a drawing contest for their children. And they said, you can join the Toastmasters meeting if you are interested. And at the end of the meeting, the results will be announced. They were not forced to attend the meeting, but then the meeting details were shared, and almost 100 to 200 people from the Chennai campus attended that particular meeting to understand what was Toastmasters, because they were intrigued, and all these children's work were also displayed during the meeting. So this was another way to introduce Toastmasters to non-Toastmasters. So you can come up with your own innovative ideas for campaign. You can have a word with the Club Grow team if you are not very sure about how to go about it, or if you need any help from our end in terms of role players or educational speakers, or you need some ideas, we can always brainstorm and work together. So the idea here is there isn't a single solution that will fit all of us. And there were so many innovative things that were already done by a few of our clubs. So come up with something new. Let's all work together and create more awareness about this brand. And we can bring in more guests who will eventually understand Toastmasters and probably join us as well.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that. I believe that was a lot of insights for clubs looking to improve their membership. Things like conducting drawing competitions for students, and then giving a chance for the parents to attend and see what Toastmasters is. That's really a new thing for me as well to listen to. The last question is, what are the criteria for winning a Smedley Award?
Criteria is very straightforward. You have to add 5 new, dual, or reinstated members. So new member is somebody who has never been a Toastmaster. Dual member is a member who is already a Toastmaster but is also willing to be part of your club as well. And reinstated, like I said, somebody who has not paid at least for a month after they have been a member will be reinstated member. Now, the only caution here is if you're adding a dual member, ensure that the member really understands that there is a purpose to have this dual member, and the member will devote sufficient time on both the clubs. It shouldn't be for the sake of award, you add a member and then eventually the club or the member, neither of them will benefit out of it. So you just add 5 new members, either in the month of August or in the month of September. You get Smedley Award, and it's an award not from the district, it is from the Toastmaster International. So it's a prestigious recognition through a ribbon for the club, and this will be on the record of the club forever. So any ex-com who probably comes up after 10 years will also be able to see this record. So it's a nice award because it helps us add members in the beginning. So the club energy is different and we are able to do much more. So that is why we recommend a lot of clubs to try and add new members and win this Smedley Award as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Gayatri. I think with that, we are bang on time as well. And we've finally reached the end of today's open house. And I'm sure it was a very fruitful session with a healthy discussion.
Shweta, can I take a quick minute here? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have about 48 participants, and this is a good stage as any to share this information. We have been requesting in various forms that members go ahead and update their addresses in the TMI portal. We are sending ribbons, we are sending a lot of recognition. And if your address is not updated, or you've given an old address, but right now because of pandemic, you're there in a different place, these certificates and ribbons might not reach you on time. And then sometimes in the transit, it can get lost. Unless we have your mobile numbers and correct address, it's difficult for us to send these recognitions to you. So I take this opportunity and urge all of you to update it in TMI portal. And if each of you can go ahead and convince 5 members from your club to do it, I think you would help us a lot in achieving our dreams and goals of making sure recognitions reach on time. Thank you so much. Back to you, Shweta. I wanted to quickly take this opportunity to share this information.
One more update is on the same thing of addresses. This is especially for people who are club presidents. Please ensure that you have your correct latest address updated, because for those clubs that achieved recognition, which is given out by Toastmasters International, like the Smedley Award or Talk of Toastmasters or whatever, those ribbons get delivered at the address of the president. So PI will just be the address from the dashboard for the club who has been nominated as the president, and the ribbon will straight away come to that address. So if you have not updated the correct address, or if it is still a corporate address and you are not there and you are, like all of us are now working from home, those recognitions will come and lie there. And we don't want it to kind of get missed. So that's again one of the things, that it's not only for the district recognitions, this also applies to recognitions which will come from TI. So that is why a request is to please update the correct latest address along with the phone number on the TI dashboard against your name, so that you don't miss out on anything.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And we are here at the end of today's open house session, and I would like to extend my sincerest thanks to the District 120 trio once again, the panel of today's open house, District Director Toastmaster Satish Menon, Program Quality Director Distinguished Toastmaster Aarti Mangalam Jayaraj, and the Club Growth Director DTM Gayatri. I'd also like to extend my thanks and gratitude for the role players of today, Timer Toastmaster Prabhakaran from Rane Toastmasters Club and Zoom Master Toastmaster Divya from Tuticorin Toastmasters Club. Thank you. Last but not the least, I also extend my heartfelt thanks to the audience for being a part of this huge initiative. Do keep coming up with questions and do keep mailing the questions. You'll be receiving a mail before the open house. And until then, it's Toastmaster Shweta signing off until the next time. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.